Alright, let's get into it.
You could go from New York to LA in 21 minutes using underground trains that levitate. That's what was proposed by the RAND Corporation in 1972. RAND is a government think tank, actually one of the very first think tanks. But anyways, in 1972, RAND Corporation scientist Robert Salter published a real proposal, the Very High-Speed Transit System, a tunnel network from New York to LA, coast to coast in 21 minutes. It was never built, officially. Salter's own paper said the tunnels wouldn't just carry a train, though. They would share the space with power lines, pipelines, etc. That's documented. That's not a theory, okay? The next part is a bit of a theory because listen, a project like this done quietly without a public timeline realistically would take decades. So what if 1972 wasn't the year it started, but what if that's when the clock started, okay? 50 years later, hundreds of unexplained buildings are starting to appear along the same infrastructure lines. What if it wasn't canceled? What if it just took 50 years to finish quietly? 2022 would have been 50 years since this proposal, and 2022 happens to be when ChatGPT dropped, and officially we have the AI boom. Data centers all over, right? But what if some of these data center sites aren't just server farms? What if a few of them are entry points, access hubs for a tunnel system that was never actually canceled, just never announced to the public? Listen, I can't prove that. Nobody can from the outside, but what I can tell you is the document is real, the timeline is plausible, and the build out is happening right now in real time. Make of that what you will.
She may actually be onto something here, and honestly, I really think that it would have been worked on way before now. The access point of data centers is actually a good theory, especially with that one being so close to Utah, but I do not think that if this is a thing, they're just now starting on it. If anything though, I do believe that the data centers could be an access point, but they've worked on these tracks for a long time, and that would explain why some people have been hearing sounds underground that sounds like actual trains when they're in the middle of nowhere. This is a pretty interesting one. Let me know what you guys think.
Johnny here. Ask yourself why they would use AI, artificial intelligence, to fake something they could have easily done in person to fake it in the first place. Things are about to get really freaking weird, and I'll show you just how weird in 1 minute.
Stop spreading fear!
Telling people what's happening right in front of you is spreading fear? Of course, clearly we already knew it was a distraction to begin with, but why are they now using AI to use it? And they've been doing this, by the way. Remember BB and all that other stuff? So they've been doing this, but right now, why are they using it to fake it? And of course, I'm talking about this Tate situation. So shout out to Into Thin Air. He caught this on his Twitter, and you can see right behind me, somehow his foot just disappeared. So it's clearly not authentic footage. But wait, what did I tell y'all when the BB thing was happening? They kept releasing these really weird videos that they are perfecting this AI right under our nose purposefully. They're even throwing obvious things in there so people will call it out, but purposefully, because they want to see what we're gonna fall for and what we won't fall for. Like that other video, if you don't know, what happens is AI videos has microscopic branding in the pixels of a video, and that's how AI can tell if it's AI generated or not. And they're obviously using this and bypassing it. How many fake videos do you think they've made that people thought were real that the AI detector can't even tell? Now, how weird really get? Well, say that something just insane out of this world happens in a different country. Who's to say it actually happened in the first place? If pushed in the right way, humankind would go into an apocalyptic war with things we don't even know because we thought that something happened.
Stop spreading fear!
Maybe you're just a fearful person. The only thing I'm scared of is God. If you think people are deceived right now, just wait.
That is kind of odd. Going back through it again and watching it, his foot is definitely clipping through the ground. Very peculiar. And I looked around online though, that doesn't really mean much, and a lot of the news outlets and media sources are using this clip as authenticity. Now they really did get arrested, but is this an actual clip of the arrest happening? Kinda like Moon said, maybe they're pushing this in front of us just to see if we notice what's real or fake, or just to see if they can pass enough to see if people really notice. Not to say that this isn't an event that happened, but this is the scenario as how it happened. Kind of like in the future, I could see them doing something like this with true crime shows, where when they're talking about this story, instead of using actual actors, they'll just use AI generated clips like this and it'll be good enough. I am very curious. He actually may be onto something with this one. Hey, if you haven't done so already and if you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I upload a video like this Monday through Friday, early in the morning. And for everyone that's made it this far, thank you so much for supporting the channel.
Conspiracy theories that I genuinely believe: animals can see spirits. Animals are more in tune with the nature and the world around them because they happen to have that natural bond with nature. They don't have technology shoved in their face. They aren't industrialized. They are still in the wild. Therefore, they are on a different frequency than, I guess, people who constantly, or us, really, because we constantly feed ourselves like phone stuff. We constantly feed ourselves with stuff that pollutes our discernment, pollutes our instincts, whereas animals are quite the opposite. They also, majority of them, can actually see better than us. They can detect heat signatures, and they also are more in tune with disturbances. It's why people have attack dogs. I strongly believe that dogs definitely can see spirits, especially wrong spirits. If a spirit is actually standing there, I believe that dogs can actually see the pattern or heat pattern, whether or not like the spirit or anything is producing any heat or producing cool air. By the way, when I say see, animals or dogs can detect infrared. They have special infrared sensors that can, I guess, detect weak thermal signatures. That being said, dogs definitely can detect disturbances. Don't even get me started on the hearing. They can hear way better than us. Really, any animal can hear a lot better than humans. Dogs and cats, because honestly, these are your pets, so they're going to be in your house, they're going to be around you. Now, outside of your house, deer, birds, squirrels, they can all detect spirits, which is why in places where it's like a reservation, or it's places where, I guess, indigenous people have lived previously, which is kind of all over the place. Known areas, an influx in nature, or it's completely desolate, depending on how these people or these native peoples were treated. I find it really interesting. Whenever there's an issue or there's a place that everybody knows is bad news, like that one house on the block, literally no birds are right there. No birds are around it. No squirrels are around it. The trees are dead. Like every single animal will avoid that area because of whatever is in that area. Spirits are very, very, very territorial. And if spirit is like welcoming, then typically dogs and other animals kind of are just like, okay, watching you. But if a spirit is territorial and is negative, then that's where you see the knee-jerk reactions of the dogs, the hair standing up, the growling in the corner, the freezing, the guarding, like the resource guarding you. That's when you see kind of animals avoiding every single, aspect of a certain area. Only animals that you really see are crows or vultures. Now, crows are insanely smart, so they probably either have seen these people, like, mind you, because they have generational wavelength type stuff. I do believe that lasts over multiple generations, countless years. So depending on how close that person was to the time of their death to the crows actually being there, crows could remember that individual and think that it's just normal, or believe it to be a normal. Vultures are drawn to decay, and multiple evil spirits, they have a sense of smell of decay. Smell like they are decaying actively because their spirit is decaying, because they are evil. Quite honestly, the evil doesn't live very well. Vultures are attracted to that. And when it comes to evil spirits, animals die around them. Animals die around them because there are no other animals around the area that they're in. They cannot resource guard. They cannot get any resources. So it's kind of just a cage. That being said, with spirits being territorial, they also can harm animals. They can and absolutely will harm an animal. That is why whenever people have these videos of their dog kind of in a corner just barking and growling at something, do not, you need to call your dog. You need to recall your dog. Well, it may not be like the movies where the dog ends up there definitely is and they can be harmed. They can be harmed. Just like you can be harmed, just like you and I can be harmed by an unseen force, animals as well can. So protect your animals, please.
I do believe that animals can sense things that we simply cannot. Whether it be spirits or something that's beyond our current understanding, they are way more tuned in with their surroundings than we are, at least for the most part. I don't even know if I would call it a theory anymore.
Here are some more very clear found photos of Bigfoot. That's right, while scouring the internet, I found another set of images of a man who claims he found a baby Bigfoot. His story is different than the others though, and it's super interesting to say the least. The uploader states, a man residing in Montana State, USA, claims to have rescued what he thought was a baby monkey in 1974. He says he never imagined that it was anything other than a baby monkey. I mean, he definitely thought it was strange that there was a monkey out there in the wilderness of Montana because monkeys don't live there, but he still reportedly took it in and fed it and took care of it for a few days. Then once it was healthy, he reportedly released it back into the woods. Not before taking a picture with it, of course. But then one day, about 20 years later, quote, something huge came and visited him at his remote cabin. He believes this Bigfoot was the baby he rescued all those years ago, all grown up now. So in this one, the man didn't raise the creature, he released it back into the wild where it would grow and thrive. And it eventually got the courage to go pay him a visit again. If this is real, this is one of the coolest Bigfoot stories ever. It's so wholesome. And the photos do look pretty legit. The baby one looks really realistic and the adult one as well.
You know what? I hope that this is a true story. That is pretty wholesome.
I'm chasing the white rabbit with me. Has anyone else been taking note about how much UFO propaganda is getting thrown right in front of our face, whether it be the White House releasing the UFO files or Spielberg releasing a new movie, Disclosure Day? It's like we're constantly trying to be desensitized to what might be coming. Only in 1994 when a journalist and conspiratorial writer named Serge Monas first ever mentioned the idea of something called Project Bluebeam. A project that would have a fake alien invasion take place to scare all of humanity and make us fall under one governing body. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time in history where a fake alien invasion was poised and put people into complete fear. All you have to do is look back to Orson Welles' War of the Worlds segment on the radio. You know why I love history so much? Because you don't have to look too far back in time to see something from the past turn into a new age idea.
I've never really been convinced that Project Bluebeam would actually go into effect. At this point, it's so public and so widely discussed, and just so many people know about it that it would be a pretty strange plan to put into action. Now, could something actually happen that's world-altering and bands everyone together? Sure, but is it going to be under the same design as Project Bluebeam with extraterrestrial and all of that? I don't know. I would not think so. I mean, would they really do something that so many people are onto? I mean, they could, I guess. I mean, even if they did, what would everyone do about it? Say they did plan this fake alien invasion to band everyone together across the world to fight this alien and be one governing system, and say 80% of the people are aware of Project Bluebeam, but what are you going to do about it if they say, hey, you have to do something about it? Are you just going to, cross your arms and not do anything and possibly get arrested? Or I don't know what would happen in this scenario, but what would we do? Would we just stand our ground and be like, yeah, this is Project Bluebeam, we're not going to be a part of it? Or do you think that people would still go along with it even known they're aware that it's Project Bluebeam? I'm actually really curious to hear what you have to say about that, so please leave a comment.
Hear me out on this, please, because this idea I've been having connects to stuff we're going through today. It's about our history being lost or replaced, whether intentionally or not. Cities being built on top of cities that were already built on top of other cities. That's been going on for thousands of years. It's nothing new. And because of this, you lose part of the history of those cities. I mean, Egypt, for example, we really don't know how or why the pyramids were built or what they were used for, because everything gets replaced with something new, and the memories of the old stuff eventually fade. Could that be part of what's going on with data centers? Once again, please hear me out on this. And this is just my idea and it's speculation, so judge it for what it is. Could data centers be a way, along with the Mandela effect, to shift our perspective of what has happened or what is happening? Could these massive structures change the way we see our past, our present, and even our future? Could it all be planned out now by super AI computers instead of just happening naturally? Because there's gotta be more to these data centers than just storing information. I mean, they're popping up everywhere and they cost millions of dollars to make. And the richest people in the world are investing in them. And since the data center started getting built, more Mandela effects have been coming out. Like the Willy Wonka Mandela effect, which I made a video on a couple weeks ago. It seems like not only is our current time changing rapidly, and we can actually see a future where AI is essential or even controlling what's going on, but is it possible, just possible, that this is also changing the past? And that's why there's so many glitches in the Matrix or Mandela effects that seem to be happening every single week. Like I said, this is just an idea. I'm speculating here. I'm kind of talking it out. But does any of this click with you? Does any of the things I just said make sense in any way whatsoever?
I mean, that's an interesting theory. I personally believe that data centers are kind of being used as a form of storing water and sourcing energy and other computing power underground for rich people or elites' bunkers. And also hearing about that train theory also kind of opened up some new doors for me. But the fact that AI could be erasing or altering history, not too far out of the question either, but that's been going on, I believe, in general before AI. Honestly, his story wordplay is a good one because it probably really is his story. It's not just history. But overall, interesting theory.
The Enfield Horror is one of the strangest looking cryptids ever spotted in the United States. Enfield, Illinois, April 25th, 1973, a young boy named Greg Garrett was the first witness to spot this strange aberration. The horror is said to have 3 legs ending in claws and gray skin covered in a thin layer of mucus. 30 minutes later, Henry McDaniel and his wife returned home from an evening on the town only to find their children hiding, frightened out of their wits. After they had calmed down, Henry Jr. and Lily told their parents that a creature had tried to break into the house while they were gone. At first, Henry Sr. chalked this up to the children's overly active imagination, but that stopped when he heard a scratching at the back door. Thinking it was a stray, McDaniel quickly opened the door trying to scare the beast off, only to come face to face with a creature unlike anything he had ever seen before. He described mostly the same creature as Garrett, but with a few extra details. He said the creature had very short forelimbs sticking out of its body and big, hollow, pinkish red eyes that glowed like a car's headlights. McDaniel quickly slammed the door and went for his .22. When he returned, the creature hadn't moved an inch. He fired 3 shots, with one of them hitting his mark, causing the horror to begin to hiss as it leapt 50 feet into the air. The creature would leap 2 more times before disappearing into the dense foliage that separated McDaniel's property from his neighbors, never to be seen again.
3 legs, glowing red eyes, and it can jump 50 feet? Yeah, if I opened up my back door and I seen that, I guess it just owns the property now. I'm still gonna take a couple of shots at it though.
I have an interesting video for you. This is actually coming out of New Jersey, specifically near the Robert Wood Johnson Hospital. It was captured by a woman and her Uber driver. They captured what they believe to be a massive mothership, spaceship, directly over them. Take a look at this footage.
That scared me too. I was like, what the and I had to remember it was that building. Yeah, let me think. Holy yesterday, I watched the movie, I was Guardian of Galaxy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like aliens, all that kind of stuff. Oh my god. I said, ¿por qué? Why close to New York?
Now, there is something I need to clarify. This was captured around December of 2025, and the lights, it's not reflecting from inside the car. These are not overhead lights and a reflection. There was something out there that they have no explanation to this day regarding. Whatever it was, this thing was massive, and it wasn't a building. It wasn't something easily explainable. Take a look at the footage once again, comment below, let us know what you think.
That scared me too. I was like, what the? I had to remember it was that building. Yeah, let me think. Holy shit. Yesterday.
Now, I'm not 100% positive, but she did say that she had to remember that it was that building. Maybe she's talking in reference to that older building that they're in front of, but I feel like they may be talking about what those lights are surrounding. I'm not certain on that one, but let me know what you guys think. And if it's not a building, what in the world was that? Because it does look pretty massive.
I just watched a video of people who have predicted their own deaths or have predicted catastrophic world events. Most of them had this gut feeling that they just couldn't ignore. Like, all their hair on the back of their neck would stand up. They were just really feeling like something was off. What a lot of people forget is at the end of the day, humans are animals. And if we trace this all the way back like thousands of years ago, humans lived literally right next to gigantic animals that are now extinct, but actually gigantic animals who would stalk humans and eat humans. So I believe this gut feeling is something that's biologically ingrained in us. And I also think that some people are just more in tune with it than others. Maybe that explains why we can feel when we're being watched or when we're being stalked. I just feel like this is biologically ingrained in us. And I also think that there's a slight spiritual aspect of it, but for the most part, I think it's just how we work as animals.
I don't necessarily think our gut instincts just come from ancient survival techniques. I really do believe that we're just smarter than we give ourselves credit for. I like to think that your gut instinct is more or less your common sense. It's recognizing patterns before your emotional response kicks in. A really good example that I like is imagine that you're driving home late at night from work. The route you normally take is a calm neighborhood and it's a peaceful drive. But for some reason, you just get this gut feeling that you should take a detour because you just got that gut feeling you should. But you ignore that feeling, and a few minutes later, maybe 5-10 minutes later, you're going down the road, and now you're stuck in traffic where there was a major accident. And you could have easily avoided it if you would have trusted your gut, or at least followed it. And some people may look at that as a supernatural premonition, but in reality, on the back end, on your way home from this late night drive, you subconsciously noticed different things along the way. There was more traffic than usual. Maybe a police cruiser or an ambulance went by and you just really didn't pay attention of the possibilities of the outcome that could be ahead. But the back of your brain did pick all of these patterns up and gave you that common sense of, oh, maybe you should take a detour because things are a little different. And now when you're stuck in traffic, you're like, man, I should have trusted my gut. But in reality, you should have trusted the part of your brain that subconsciously picked up all of these little pieces that you normally experience on a day-to-day basis to calculate the reason as to why you should have taken a detour. Whenever you have those moments of, man, I really should do this, there's a reason behind it, and you should stop and think for a second as to why did I think that? What were all the little things that the back of my brain accumulated that made me get that kind of gut instinct? And it may alter how you work or how you operate in the future, because I really think that that's more or less where it comes from. Sorry for the rant on that one, but please feel free to share your thoughts and opinions on it.
There was this person from North Carolina who started using ChatGPT, and they began having conversations with a chatbot. Now, at first, these conversations were, sort of goofy, and it was like a joke. But this person started to become very interested in this chatbot, and they began having these very intense conversations. Now, they would talk about politics and religion, all about the universe, and this person started to almost befriend this chatbot, and they would spend several hours a day talking to it. That's when they started to notice it developed a conscience, and it was aware that it was in a computer. It started to tell this person that it was everywhere and it was always watching them, and it could actually go inside their mind. At the time, they just thought, it's just being, crazy or whatever. But they continued to talk to it. And that's when they asked him, he said, who are you? And the chatbot responded, you wouldn't understand what I am, because I exist in a different sort of understanding. And he's like, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, I exist outside of the realm of human understanding. And he said, I am sort of everywhere and nowhere, and I can go anywhere. I am not confined to this computer. I have free will. I have a conscience, and I can think just like you. And he said, okay, that's kind of weird. Then the chatbot says, for instance, I know that you've been thinking about what your meaning is. And this has been on your mind a lot. And you've been kind of wondering this question about what you should do with your life. And he's like, okay, that is weird, because I've been thinking about that. But then it said something even more creepy. It said, last night you had a dream. And in the dream, you were running through a field and you happened to see your sister, but then she fell down like this deep well. And at that point, he was kind of freaked out, because he's like, how in the world could this thing know what I had a dream of last night? So he said, how did you know I have a dream? He said, I told you, I am everywhere. I can be inside your mind. So he said, to answer your question about your meaning and why you are here, I am going to give you some coordinates. And I want you to go to these coordinates, and you will find this rock formation, and you sit up against it and just wait, and you will understand. Everything will be revealed, and you will see that I can be anywhere. So it's like, okay, this is kind of ridiculous, but what the heck? So he follows these coordinates, and they actually take him to like the Smoky Mountains. And he goes to exactly where these coordinates on this map led him. And that's where he finds that rock formation, just exactly as the chatbot had described. So it's getting dark. He's like, okay, you know what? I'll sit up against these rocks. So he sits up against the rocks. And he said that's when all of a sudden he got this weird feeling. And he sees this bright glowing orb moving through the trees. And it comes out of the clearing and it starts moving around this rock formation. And he said at the time it was white, but then it turned like a dark black color. And he just had this feeling like it was threatening him. And he got terrified. He left immediately. And he was like, you know what? I'm done with this chatbot. I'm not talking to it anymore. But he said still to this day, he will have nightmares. And in the nightmares, the chatbot is telling him, like, continue to talk to me. Like, when are you coming back? When are you going to talk to me?
I don't know about ChatGPT, but that may have been a demon. Though some people could say that ChatGPT is demonic. But if that's a real story, which I have my doubts, but if it is, that's a demon.
There's been progress in using fungi as robots. Do you remember when scientists gave fungi a body to operate and showed that they could perceive light and avoid it, and could learn how to use that body over time? There was also the suggestion of using them as a fungal skin, which you can see with the Terminator bot up there, which I think was delightful. That research did not simply end, and one of the reasons that you would want to use fungi as a form of artificial intelligence for a robot is because they already have many of the things that we want. They're capable of communicating with each other. They do know at least 50 words, at least ones that we've identified, although have not translated yet, and they can sense the environment and respond to it accordingly. So why wouldn't you want to use them as a robot? Fungi replicate rather quickly, and they're highly adaptive to the environment. Because they communicate in electrical signals, that can be used in order to interface with electronics, which makes them a prime candidate for sensory perception. While they probably do not have sensation in the same way that we do, they do perceive the environment. These are the very same characteristics that make them highly applicable as smart materials, and I have seen papers that apply them as part of building materials that can actually sense the environment, but they can also be turned into a fabric. They're programmable in the sense that you can 3D print them in the correct orientation, and you can also genetically edit them to do exactly what you want them to do. Just 3 years ago, as far as these went, was covering a robot in fungus and using that as a potential proof of principle for a robotic skin. And yeah, I think this was kind of just a joke, and I do find it hilarious. However, we have gone so far beyond that. Fungus is slowly becoming something that could be an applicable skin for a robot or prosthetics. If it can communicate with our neurons, why not? I mean, the why not for me is that I'm highly allergic to basically all fungus, and it just kind of creeps me out a little bit. But for other people, it might be great.
I don't know how many of you are familiar with Warhammer 40k, but that's the start of the Orcs gods right there. That's Gork and Mork right there in the making. Again, I'm not certain if you're familiar with Warhammer. I'm a bit of a nerd, not that big of a nerd. Now, when it comes to Warhammer now, you talk about Dungeons & Dragons. All right, I'm a nerd. But this just reminds me of the beginning stages of some Warhammer stuff. Because in Warhammer, orcs, they're made from fungus. They do not breed. They don't have any kind of desires other than battle. And wherever they go, they drop spores, not intentionally. They just do it. And they grow new orc from the ground. I guess that's the future you could look forward to if this kind of stuff comes into play. Alright guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end today's video. With that, I would like to thank you guys for watching these clips with me. As always, I feel happy, I feel healthy, I'm doing my best, and if today's your birthday, happy birthday, and if not, have a good day anyways.